Here we go. Here comes people. I love people. Uh-oh. I can't even get out of my own way. I'm going to do the gallery view. And where am I? God. Okay, speaker view, speaker view, speaker view. La, la, la. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. That took a long time to do that. All right, folks are arriving. This is good. Hooray. Hello. Welcome. We got 3. Let's get 10 or 11 in here, and then we'll have something. Okay. Open up the chat box. I like to open up all this stuff. Get everything open. All the bells and the whistles. Okay. Oh, I was organizing myself, trying to figure out what I was going to do and say today. So, ha ha ha. So I'm going to make a few more notes here. I'm not just ignoring anybody. Oh gosh, it's a couple minutes after 1. Folks are arriving. This is great. If you have a question or a comment or a joke or an observation or just a benediction to bless the whole class, you just go ahead and hit that like or subscribe button. I mean, you go right ahead and unmute your mic and say what's on your mind today while I take a few notes here. Okay, because I should have had this all done before I started class, and yet class started and I was still moving stuff around, cleaning things, getting things ready, making my lighting and my makeup and everything here in the television studio of my dreams perfect so that we could all share and it would be fun and fantastic. Um, if you have any questions that you want to ask or observations to make that you don't want to say out loud, you can always type them into the chat box and we can look at things that are written down too, and that would be fine. I have a fantasy that maybe we could critique things today. I know that's a little bit scary, but wouldn't that be fun? If you have a cell phone that has a camera on it or a digital camera, that you can actually take a really good picture of your mask from straight up above the mask, not casting any shadows on the mask, and having your camera sensor completely parallel to the tabletop so that there's no distortion or anything in the mask. That would be wonderful. If you could take a photograph and email it to yourself, open that document up and have it open on your desktop, we could share things. And if you need to step out for a minute to do that and then come back into the Zoom, that'd be just fine. Rhea has a question for us. Please, Rhea, I'm going to click on your hand. You go right ahead and ask that.
Okay. I'm not home right now, and I don't have a picture of my mask. Is this graded, or can I send you a picture when I get home?
You can send me the picture when you get home, and actually we're going to talk about this today because I would like you to take the picture and upload it to our coursework in e-learning, because I've just created assignments. So this would be our first, the first mask is our first assignment. The second mask is our second assignment. Some people have already turned in the first mask and they may not even have taken a picture of it before they turn it in. So we'll try to work through all of those details as we get there. But if you turn the mask into the coursework, then that's good because you're uploading something that then I can grade. And I can't upload stuff into your file for the coursework. And so it would be really nice if you guys can actually take a picture and upload it. Then there's a thing in the coursework that I can then um, uh, give a grade on, and that's our whole funky grading system that we have, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
okay, and then in the chat I see I haven't gotten started my second mask yet. When are we supposed to turn it in? I was hoping that maybe we could turn it in next week. I think I put a deadline on it, like maybe Tuesday of next week at midnight. And then I put, of course, an extension on the deadline because nobody can make a first deadline. I can't. I don't know anybody else who can. And so I think I put the deadline extension to Thursday of next week. So try to work on that. But I would like to do some early um, discussion of the masks today and see how many people have gotten and how far folks have gotten with the masks, because that would be good. I got, ooh, 7 people. How do so many people get in here? That's fantastic. I'm going to put this aside and take attendance and see who's all here, because this will be great. Today's Thursday, right? So I'm in this column right here. So who do I have? Catherine. Okay, Catherine is where? Is way down here. Okay, so you're here, and Dylan is up here. Fantastic. And Elizabeth way up there. And Nessa is here. And Pristine, welcome back. Nice to see you again, is here. And Rhea. Okay, so we're up to sort of where everybody's at so far. Let me just scroll down a little bit further and see if anybody else is here. Okay. And this is the thing about artists and sculptors. I mean, sometimes we come late to things. Sometimes we don't make it on time. So we're just kind of easing into this afternoon meeting that we're having today, and that would be great. I want to thank you guys for bringing your masks over to Eden Hall here and setting them outside the studio door. I have met with several people from the class who've done that. And if you can do that, like on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday afternoon, I'm teaching basic design from 1 to 2. And so right around the 1:50 to 2 o'clock mark, I'm wrapping up that class. I'm sitting right here by the window, by the door. That's where the light is coming in from that door over there. So I can see you guys coming up from the coming either across campus or from the parking lot down below. And so coming to my back door where there's a little wooden bench out here, actually it's a pretty big long wooden bench, is great. You can bring your masks and set them on the wooden bench. I'm gonna try to have bags of clay available for you and more boards so that you can pick up another bag of clay. This time it's recycled clay, but another bag of clay. And if you're feeling really like you want to do lots of sculpture, maybe even pick up 2 bags of clay because they're small. And I want everybody to pick up a square board. I have now a stack of boards that are 1 foot by 1 foot square. And our next project is going to be a vertical composition, a sculpture in the round that we're going to have to do. So you're going to need an entire bag of clay plus extra clay and the board. So that's one thing, is bringing your masks in here, dropping them off, and then picking up more clay and another board for the next project and taking that back home again. Do try, if you can, to get a ride over here. If you have a car or a roommate or somebody, because it is hard to carry a 20-pound bag of clay across campus on your hip. I know that that's hard, but it's a thing. Oh, I have to look at another thing here. My internet is patchy, so if I cut out, that's why. Okay, I understand. That's cool. Okay, let me see who's all else is coming here. I see Paula is in here now, so that's good. Let me just make sure I got her attendance taken care of. And Pristine and Paula and Elizabeth and Dylan and everybody else are here so far. Okay, all right. So I want to start another project next week, and there's going to be like a presentation to do, and a demonstration after the presentation. And so it's going to take a little while to get into the next project. But if you guys can come over here like tomorrow afternoon or Monday afternoon, at 2 o'clock, and pick up clay and boards, that would be fantastic to make sure that you've got plenty of clay. One housekeeping announcement I have is about the clay bags that we are using. I want you guys to take all of the clay that you have harvested from the inside of your sculptures and put it back into the bags, and add a little bit more water to it. A quarter cup, half cup should do it. You pour a little bit of water in here among all of the trimmings, and then kind of roll the bag around in space so that the water can coat all of the trimmings. It should moisten everything back up to moist clay that's readily sculptable in the additive process. And so the residual clay that's in the bag left over from hollowing out the backs of the masks should still be something that you can use in the next project. I also need you guys to try to save the clay bags if possible. And when you bring your masks over here to drop them off so that I can dry them and fire them, please bring the empty bags with you. If you have empty bags of clay, try not to throw them away. I know that that's, too late. I'm a day late and a dollar short on that. But I use the bags to recycle the recycled clay that I have back in the studio. And so we remoisten all this clay. We pat it into large loaves of clay, and then we put a bag over it and cinch it up again and recycle the clay as much as possible. Oh, Aurora's here. Okay, fantastic. Let's make sure she gets in here. Okay, so that makes 8 people here so far. Let's call it a class, and we'll get going. Let me just go through the list one more time. I got the participants list on and open over here. So I just got to make sure I've got everybody in so far. That's good. Okay, so today is like, it could be a show and tell day. I wanted to try to have you guys start to really, photograph your pieces. Photograph your pieces from up above, straight down where your piece is on a tabletop someplace, with really good light coming in from the side, perhaps from a window. It can be artificial light too. I'd like you to photograph it with your cell phone camera or digital camera and email it to yourself, or somehow get yourself a file that is open on your desktop so we can look at it. If you're not able to do that, if you can somehow rig your webcam on your computer to point at your sculpture, that would be fine. Some people can take their sculpture and prop up the sculpture on the board so that it's leaning back, maybe on the bag of clay. If you use a bag of clay and prop your board up against it and turn that towards the camera, that would be another way that we could see your sculpture if you wanted to share the sculpture as part of the process. We can do that. So one way or another, I'd kind of like to see where you guys are at. And if you haven't started the mask, don't worry, that's okay too. We're kind of in the middle of all of this. So, but I want to try to wrap this mask up in the next session or two. And as we are transitioning from this mask into the next project, I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation and then a demonstration, trying to get us kind of up to speed for the next project. And you'll have to come over here and bring a mask over and drop it off, and get another full bag of clay and another square board so that you can start the new project next week. So there's all of this running around that we have to do as we're dropping off masks, and I'm firing them, and then you're going to be picking up clay and picking up boards, and then a week after you'll probably come over here and pick up your fired masks so that we can talk about painting and decorating the masks too. So all of that stuff is going to be kind of part of a churn that happens between projects and in the midst of new projects as we finish up our old projects. Let's see. Sorry I'm late. I can send mine in chat, but I'm having to use my phone until I get to the house. Right. Fine. No problem. No problem. Okay. Let's see. I was gonna. I've burned up 15 minutes of our class already. So maybe in that time, somebody might have been able to either take a photograph of their mask or have a photograph of your mask already that you can open up as an open document on your desktop to share. Ah, look at that. PC Fugate is right there. Yes. No, she's gone now. She was here and now she's gone.
I'm still here. I can hit share screen if you're ready, if you want me to go.
I'm so ready. Thank you. That'd be fantastic. Watch me be quiet now. Oh, I have to enable something. Here we go. Okay, now it's ready to go. Now, multiple participants can participate multiply. And so now the share screen works.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Let me just see if my thing worked. So you have to hit the blue. Can you hit the blue share screen button on your thing after you've highlighted your open document? There we go. It's coming now. Ha! Oh my gosh. Okay. Ah, look at that. That's fantastic. Uh-oh. What did I just do? I did a funny thing. Okay. So I see it, and I also see that up at the top of the screen there is a magnifying glass with a plus sign in it. And if you click on that, it might even make your mask bigger. Oh, here it comes. Look out, boys. She'll chew you up. Okay. Oh my gosh. So tell me, are you way outside of your comfort zone on this one?
Oh yeah.
All right. So it's kind of a horizontal composition for us. So we just have to kind of turn our heads over like we're eating a taco or something to kind of see it as a vertical mask. But I see the eyes, and I also see I don't know what I see up there. Something is spiraling away from us towards the upper left-hand corner. And is that I don't know what that is. I see kind of a ridge over the left eye that's in the lower part of the screen. And then there's something above the other eye that is kind of spiraling away from it. Is that a horn or an ear, or what is that up there? Did I lose you? I might have lost your audio.
Oh, there. It's like a feather shape.
So this guy up here is a feathery shape?
Yeah, and I had it set so that I could move the pictures so that I could change or switch them. Here, there it is.
Oh, you're so fancy. Oh my gosh. Okay.
There, did that work?
Yes. Okay. Now I see that it is like asymmetrical, and the eyes are not in the same plane, and the nose is way over to the side. And so now I get it. Okay, you were doing a whole bunch of that cubist stuff that we were talking about. I went back and did a little bit more research. I had to refresh myself because I've been out of an art history class for 40 years. It was synthetic cubism that came after analytical cubism or analytic cubism, where Picasso was really doing those cubist portraits of people. And so you're doing all of that, plus you're working with texture. Tell me about your texture.
It's way outside my comfort zone.
Yes. Well, that's not just the additive process. You put some clay on there, and then some more pummeling of the clay surface has happened with your fingertips, it looks like.
Yes, I was trying to shoot for a rough, scaly, feathery look.
Yes. And so are you pinching, squeezing, pinching the clay?
Kind of shoving my thumb into it directionally.
Okay. So you're pinching,
and layering that.
You're poking the clay with your thumb.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can see a lot of the clay doesn't have folds in it anymore. That has been kind of unified by the new texture that you applied to it. And so I can see the thumb dents. And so there's cast shadows from the thumb dents. And that's not a bad thing. I'm trying to like do a narration here and try to put words to the texture. So,
It's
huh?
really rough too. It's not even close to being finished.
Oh, okay. All right.
So go
Well,
for it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I promise not to cry.
no, 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 no. It's just that there is a texture, and it's one step beyond just the additive texture of just shoving little particles of clay together and letting them kind of express themselves both in an uneven texture, but also where the two pieces of clay squeeze together, there might be a little crevice or something like that. Random abstract crevices. Well, your crevices have disappeared because of the continuing of the pushing your thumb into them. So that kind of got blended out a little bit, but now we still have this irregular surface just from the thumb dimples that have gone into the clay. And that's an important distinction. This now has an overall texture, except for the eyes and some of the other places, the lips possibly, that you have applied this texture. And so this is your own unique texture that you applied, which I will applaud you for, because you have now invented a texture to go along with this. And you say that this isn't done yet, you're still working on it?
I was just going to do some detail up in here, just on the very top, not on the sides. That's still rough, and I probably will leave it that way. And I will do some detail here and down in the mouth, and a little smoothing and shaping on this beak nose.
That sounds good. So, and I also want to let you know that you'll have a couple of bites at the apple, because when you cut it off the board and flip it over to hollow it out, you'll flip it back upright again, and then some things might have gotten bent a little bit in the hollowing out process. So you can do some final touch-up textures and or sculpting on it after it has been hollowed out too. So that gives you another opportunity.
Yep.
Does anybody else want to unmute your mic and chime in at all with any kind of a comment? There are no such thing as a dumb question or a dumb comment when you are brand new to sculpture and brand new to art. And I can try to help you. I can try to help paraphrase it to make it sound, to try to use some of the technical terms or some of our vocabulary a little bit. But would anybody like to make a comment on the sculpture?
Hello. I would like to talk about like the texture. When I first saw it, I was thinking like mermaid scales or something, which I really like the texture. And then combined with the feathers, like then my mind switched to like bird-like. And I thought it was really cool. Like I really like how she did the texture.
That is a great observation, and I do want to pick up on that. Paula, do you have birds at home? Do you have a pet bird or something?
No.
Do you like birds?
They're all right. On the farmer spectrum of things, they're great for eggs.
Okay, well, because you've got that overall kind of feathery texture happening, and then you've got that more feathery form happening that's coming out of the forehead and spiraling over towards the right. And I was just wondering if you were being influenced by birds or bird-like form at all.
Yeah, I was actually, the whole time I was doing this, I was thinking hen's teeth. I don't know why. I just was.
Okay, that's cool. That's great.
That's what these little things down here will probably end up being, is weird shape, weird directional teeth.
Okay, all right. So how do you feel now that you've been pushed way out of your comfort zone? Are you loving it? Are you owning it? Are you still struggling with it? What's it like?
It's all right. It went really fast. I didn't spend too much time on it, really.
Well, that's the paradox of all of this. If you don't care too much about it, then you don't labor over it and spend too much time on it. But also some really interesting, original, weird kind of stuff can happen when you kind of let down the perfectionism, thing. Not that
Yeah,
you're a perfectionist. I would never want to go there. I wouldn't say that.
I let my country fair attitude out.
All right, Oregon Country Fair. Good for you. You know, I've never been to that thing. That sounds like fun.
It wasn't when I was a kid. It was kind of weird. I
Oh,
used to go with my mom when I was a child.
pretty cool. Okay. Let me give one more chance for anybody else to shout out or shout in if they want to. Is there anybody else who'd like to unmute your mic and make any kind of comment for Paula? It's not required and you don't have to, but you can.
When I first saw the picture, like the first picture, I was really confused on what it was because it's like, for a second I thought it was a chameleon because it looks like two eyes going two different directions. So from that perspective, it kind of looks like a chameleon. But then when I saw the second picture, I thought it looks more of dragon-like. I didn't really get much of a bird out of it until she said something about it.
Okay. I certainly see the chameleon aspect because of the kind of the bug-eyed thing happening, and that's really cool.
It could be part dinosaur, part bird. There were relationships there.
Okay. Well, I think, thank you very much, Paula. If you want to go and hit the end share button. Hey, oh, who's that guy? We're back to that guy. Um, this is good. And this is about what we can do in Zoom. In some ways, it's kind of limiting because we're not all in the same room looking at stuff. In other ways, if you got a really good photograph or a couple of, multiple photographs, it gives us several views to look at it. And sometimes everybody's in the front row that way. Everybody gets to see a pretty good view of the thing that's under discussion. So that's really cool. Is there anybody else who might have a photograph of their piece that they want to share? You can just go ahead and hit the share screen button on your computer if you want and open it up. And otherwise, I'm going to, I've got a thing I can do if there isn't anybody else who is ready to share. Oh, here comes something. Who is that? Catherine Rhodes?
I have one. This is the one I did. Can you guys see it?
Yes, coming through great.
Okay. I only uploaded one picture, but this is the abstract one I did. I didn't do it like as abstract. But as you can see, like you have like how the nose arches. So what I was going for is kind of like looking in this direction, and then you just have one eye, like you were talking about before, looking at like you. So it's like kind of looking off to the side, and then you just have something staring at you. And what I did was, I was inspired by Van Gogh, as you say, or as you, sorry, because that's who we were doing. And I was thinking about the Starry Night painting he did, and I added in swirls to both eyes to kind of give an homage to that. And then I kind of made everything else clean, but like with texture, kind of like one of the sketches, or that's what I had in mind. And probably one of my favorite parts of the whole thing you actually can't see. It's the nose, because you have, like, as we can see, we have part of the nose like it's a profile view, but on the other side it actually has the other nostril, so it's kind of like the head is actually turned.
That's wonderful. That is brilliant. Now, I would not have guessed Picasso or Van Gogh at first. When I first saw the overall shape of this, I was thinking maybe a little bit more like Edvard Munch's The Scream or something like that. But I can definitely see both, the idea of post-impressionist painters' influences here, whether it's Van Gogh or Munch. I really love how the bridge of the nose goes up and becomes the eyebrow of the left eye. And I really love the other eye with that built-in huge tear duct. It looks like it's just going to be in perpetual crying mode all the time with that kind of thing that's like a faucet or a a lip that's just going to leak tears forever. And then some of the texture underneath that form of that eye down on the cheek, picks up on the idea of possibly deep sadness, and that it reinforces that idea of tears that are just going to keep coming out of that eyeball that's frontal to us. I love the extension of the nostrils underneath the nostrils, how they become kind of grooves that come all the way down to the upper lip. That's ghastly and interesting. And in fact, between the how the bridge of the nose extends up and is extended into the eyebrow, and how those nostrils extend down, I really love how you pushed and pulled on body parts on both ends of that nose. That's really, really cool to me.
The nose actually even becomes the eye socket, so it has more of that swirl like aesthetic to it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to, you're talking about the swirl and the Starry Night thing, and I think you could even go more. You could go deeper, or let's see, more aggressive with the texture that swirls around the eyes. If you wanted to make the marks, deeper with a wooden tool, like the wooden trimming stick tool, either end of it might be something you could drag or dig around those eyes to really get that swirling sense of form happening. Unless, you've done that and you didn't like it, and you've kind of gotten back to this, and this is kind of like a happy medium for having the eyes as dominant as you want them to be and not overpowered by texture swirling around them. What do you think?
I'm not really sure. At first, I was kind of happy with the smooth but kind of like sketch texture. But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I want to do more with it.
Okay,
So.
sounds
Oh,
cool.
and the lips. I really liked the shape of the lips, but I made a mistake at first. I didn't build up enough. So I actually just cut the lips off and re-put them on.
That's okay. That's fine. They're wonderful, and they are small in comparison to other proportions of the composition. So I like how you're playing with different proportions, as well as excuse me, different directionality of the features of the face. That's really cool. I'm gonna stop talking for a minute and let anybody else weigh in to give some feedback to you. So please go ahead and unmute your mics if you want to talk.
Hi, Aurora here. I actually immediately got Van Gogh when I first saw this. I think it was like last week you had said something about it, or earlier this week, which I thought was really cool. And I also like that you're playing with, the mixture of like the Screaming Man idea and kind of what you're doing with the Picasso of like putting the eyes in different planes and the nose in a different plane. But I really like this, and I think the difference in swirling texture in the eye versus like the smoother texture out of the eye is really cool.
That's a really good comment. Thank you very much, Aurora. That's awesome. Is anybody else moved to, even if you object to this thing, we can give some pushback too. If you think, oh, it's gross, oh, I don't like it, oh, it doesn't work, I'm open to that too, because it's always nice to get a little bit of reaction to the thing too.
I'm very impressed by the nose. I like the nose. My nose looks terrible. I'm waiting for it to dry a little bit more.
Okay, very good.
I'm with Aurora on that. I like the eyes. I like that they're opposites, one's in, one's out, and there's unification in shape with all the circles and corners like rounding into the nose. And in using your imagination on the other eye, it's like you're seeing a reflection of Starry Night in his eye. And then
Yeah.
the wrinkles and lines underneath the eye between there and the nose kind of bring that together. I think it's a great imagination.
Well, and those are really good comments too. Very insightful. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's very nice, Catherine. I appreciate your share. Oh God, we're back to me. Now I'm comparing myself to that former mask, and it's a little scary. Is there anybody else who wants to? We could probably do one more today if somebody else has a mask they'd like to share. And otherwise, I have a little bit of a primer for our next project that I could start talking about a little bit. So I am going to walk away for just a second to get a couple of things from the next room and bring them back. In the meantime, if somebody wants to start talking about their mask, that would be great. But I'll be back in 20 seconds.
You all are so quiet.
And I'm back. Okay. Thank you for being so patient and waiting for me. Okay. So I brought in a sculpture. I thought I would do the webcam down to where we can see it and talk about it and blah, 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 yada, yada. Okay. So anyway, so now I'm too tall. Anyway, I'll get down here. All right, so our next project is going to be built on a square board. And so this board is 1 foot by 1 foot square, because I'm really trying to only use the board as a footprint for the sculpture so that we can launch the sculpture vertically. And so it's pretty much the contents of at least one full bag of clay repiled on this board in a vertical format. And then it's going to take a while because we're going to be cutting it up and taking pieces off and building out form and trying to just kind of play with the idea of organic form that really isn't supposed to look like anything. It's not supposed to resemble anything from nature necessarily, but I am kind of interested in somewhat of a flowing organic form. This is the abstract freeform sculpture, for lack of a better term. It's supposed to be non-objective, non-representational. It is supposed to be something that is a sculpture in the round that stands on its own bottom or base or whatever, except that, you know, we're not really going to deal with a base or base element in this sculpture. We just want this sculpture to spring from the board and to kind of come up and grow kind of organically. And we're looking for several shapes or forms in the composition that might be working with other shapes or forms in the composition. And so sometimes in a sculpture like this, it tends to lend itself to spiraling up. It tends to lend itself to somewhat curvilinear forms. But we're going to investigate a lot of this stuff next week in several different slides. I'm going to look at abstract sculptures from sculptors from the middle of the 20th century, doing variations on abstract themes from surrealism, because Jean Arp or Hans Arp was a fantastic sculptor, pretty much taking it out of the realm of just realism into and I mean, he was sculpting at the time that the surrealists were painting, but his sculptures are a lot more of this kind of abstracted organic form based on the human body. And so we're going to look at Hans Arp's pieces next week as a point of departure, as something to spring from. But ultimately, I'd like us to try to do this. And this is going to be hard. This is going to be some intellectual heavy lifting for a lot of you guys who have never sculpted before. And if you have sculpted, you're really interested in doing an image of something that's realistic or based on something you've seen in nature or in your imagination or something. And so trying to just find your way through a sculpture process towards something that is non-objective and non-representational, but somewhat organic and flowing as form, is going to be, it's going to take some effort and work. But it's like castor oil. It's good for you. You're supposed to eat this. It's like liver and onions. It's good for you. You know, it might be gross, but the first time you eat it, but it is good for you. And some people even learn to like it. Yes, abstract art is a lot like liver and onions. And so that's a really good way of thinking about it. So this is what I want us to do. When you're finishing up your masks, if you can bring them in here on a Monday or Friday afternoon and drop them off at my back door, then you can pick up another bag of clay and pick up a square board so that we can start this sculpting process next week. And I'm going to demonstrate on Monday, but we may not be jumping into this as a full-blown sculpture until at least Thursday of next week. This sculpture might take us 2 or 3 weeks to do. So I'm going to give lots and lots of time for us to kind of work through this sculpture over the next 2.5 to 3 week long period. I would also like to encourage you guys to bring in empty clay bags. If you have, emptied your clay bag and you haven't thrown away yet, please bring them in, because we are continuing to recycle clay here, and I need bags to put them in desperately. I'm down to my last 3 bags to put recycled clay in, and so I'm in need of more heavy-duty plastic clay bags for that process. Okay, having said all that, I'm going to change the camera up to my lovely little face and then ask anybody else if you have any comments or questions. For the good of the order here, we can entertain questions and comments. Do you have questions and comments about this next project or about the mask that we're working on? I would be happy to entertain those questions and attempt to answer. Let's see. Oh, there's 5 things in the chat. I got to reopen the chat box because I closed it for a second. So let me reopen this. Okay. How in the heck would you be able to hollow? Is there stuffing? Okay, I just broke my nose off. Oh, I hate that when I just broke my nose off. Okay. So if you broke your nose off, please scratch and slip it and try to put your nose back on to the best of your ability. How do you hollow something like this? Well, that's a good question. What I do is I cut it into pieces. I cut each one of these objects off, and then I slip the object, down the middle with a wire tool so that it's in at least 2 halves. And then I hollow out each half and I score and slip and put the 2 halves together. And then from the bottom, I start to assemble the hollow pieces, scoring and slipping and putting them back together. And sometimes I even have to take some clay out of the bag and make temporary clay props to kind of hold up and give support to areas of the sculpture while I'm putting the hollow pieces back together and having them held up. Something like flying buttresses on a Gothic cathedral. We make our own flying buttresses out of extra clay and help to hold it up. And they are temporary clay props to hold up the elements in the sculpture. And then once the sculpture has dried out to a leather hard state, it then can sustain its own weight, it can sustain its own shape, and then the temporary props can be removed, leaving the sculpture the way it is. So that's a thing. From Aurora, there's a YouTube video, oh my God, and Catherine says, is this whole unit on abstract art? Oh, sorry. The whole unit isn't on abstract art. I'm playing around with things that are non-representational, although the mask is fairly representational a little bit, but we're kind of playing around outside of completely naturalistic art, because next quarter is when I usually do the human figure study in the curriculum where I hire a model and then we actually try to sculpt the forms and proportions of the human body, try to do a full-size portrait bust for the first 3 weeks, and then do a seated figure that would be a vertical composition, and then wind up with a reclining figure that would be more of a horizontal composition. The only problem is that we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I have to convince people to let me hire a model so that I can have a nude model in the middle of the classroom, and then we can actually meet in the middle of a classroom with all of us masked up and socially distanced and whatever it takes to, taking temperatures and everything else to make sure we're totally safe so that we can do this. And we haven't figured out all of that yet. But the more we learn about COVID and the more we learn about that masks are an effective means to stay clear of COVID, I think the better we're going to be as we get to January, and maybe we can open this up enough to have an in-person class that can deal with human figure study, which is what I'd like to do. Let's see. Aurora says, I found this. It's a non-objective sculpture. Oh, that's what that YouTube thing is. Okay, cool. So that's stuff to play with, and that would be fantastic. Non-objective piece we're going to be starting to introduce and ease ourselves into next week. Try to wrap up the second mask if you can possibly do it. Please bring over your first and second masks and drop them off outside of Eden Hall here by my back door, so that I can dry them and fire them successfully. Bring your bags back so that I can fill them with more recycled clay, and pick up another bag of clay and another square board so that we can start the next unit, the next sculpture next week. I know it's a big, heavy lift, but that's what we're doing as we transition out of masks and start getting ourselves into sculpture in the round. That's the next thing for next week. Are there any questions now for the good of the order? Anybody want to unmute your mask or unmute your mic and ask a final question? Oh, Aurora's there.
I have a quick question. So you said it's about a week before we'll get our masks back after we get them to you?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I just have to dry them completely, stack them in the kiln, fire them for 2 or 3 days slowly so I don't blow them up. Thank you so much for using your needle tool to try to make air holes or drying holes on the backside of your mask. You didn't have to do that, but that helps, and I do appreciate that quite a bit. So thank you for doing that. I usually, if I can candle the clay masks on one burner on low for 24 hours, I can drive most of the moisture, all of the moisture, out of the masks before they get above 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Once again, it's the boiling point of water that if there's still a particle of water trapped deep inside the mask and it hits 212 degrees, it becomes steam, and steam blows up popcorn, and steam will blow up masks or sculptures. So I carefully try to bring the temperature up and dry the masks out thoroughly before passing the boiling point of water. Did you say you wanted us to come at 2 o'clock? Yes, 2 o'clock tomorrow would be an excellent time. It's Friday. My class winds up around 2 o'clock, and I can receive your masks and send you on your way with additional clay square boards. And I would also love to receive, any clay that you may have that you need me to recycle, but mostly the clay bags. I need the clay bags back. So try to recycle the clay bags if possible. Okay, that's enough for me. That's enough for now. Thank you very much for being here today. We will do this again next Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon if you have finished masks to drop off tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, we'll try it on Monday. Finish your masks and photograph them so that you have a photograph that you can upload to the coursework section of e-learning. So I've got something I can grade electronically in e-learning, and that would help me out quite a bit. Okay, goodbye for now. Thank you very much for joining me today. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.